Hi parents, this is Mawi Asgedom. I'm making this special video for you to help you inspire your kids, and I feel like we're in it together because I'm a parent. I have 3 kids myself. I have a 5th grader, 4th grader, and then a son who's going to be in kindergarten next year. And I'd love to share some thoughts with you on how you can inspire growth in your kids and some things that have worked for me. Some of the research that I've learned about these last 20 years is I've worked with more than 1 million students all over the world on how we can help our students grow. So let's start with why. Why is it important for us to care about growth? Is it just so that our kids can get into a top-ranked college? I don't think so. Even my own kids, I have never told them that I want them to go to Harvard University, which is where I went to college, and I've never told them that's the goal. I've always talked to them instead about just growth, being more than they were yesterday. And you'll see why by the end of this video, why this is much more profound than a test score, the rank of a college. It's really a philosophy about how we live our lives. So what's the why behind growth? Well, as a parent, you want your kids to be confident, right? And the research shows that kids don't develop confidence by having you as the parent tell them, oh, you're great, you're awesome, you're beautiful, you're the best. The kids might get a little bit of confidence from that, but what gives them a lot of confidence is if kids can grow in their skill, if they can play a harder song and music, if they can do harder math, if they see themselves growing, that's actually what the best researchers on positive psychology have shown leads to confidence. And so another big why for why we should care about growth is when I always ask my kids, do you want to make a difference in the world someday? When you grow up, you want to be able to help people. And they always say yes. And I would imagine your kids want to make a difference too. And you want your kids to make a difference. Well, I always say it's hard to make a difference if you don't have any skill. If you can't read, write, if you can't do any math, if you haven't mastered any skill, any kind. And so every time your kid develops new skills, they're able to deploy those skills for the rest of their lives to help others make the world a better place. So there's many, many more reasons why we want our kids to grow. But those are a couple that jump out for me as one, it builds confidence. Some researchers have actually said it reduces anxiety and depression. They've shown that. And on top of that, our kids can make a much more impact in the world. So what are some simple ways, what's a simple philosophy around growth that can be really helpful? Well, the way I think about it is we all have things we can already do. So imagine this is the area of things that we can already do, right? And then there's things we cannot do yet. This is not yet land, right? And it's natural for us as human beings to stay stuck on the things that we can do and do those again and again. And it'll be normal for your kids to want to do that, right? They'll want to play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star again and again, when over here they can play a much more difficult song. And so you as a parent, you can encourage your student, you can encourage your child, and you can give them opportunities and show them ways that they can consistently get into that not yet circle. Do the things they have not done yet. Grow. And so some of the ways I do that as a parent that I would like to recommend to you is, I'll start with my youngest kid. Here's a book, for example, that I read with him the other day. It's called, you can see Fish Makes Faces. And he's just 5, so he's learning how to read a little bit. And what I'll do is I tell him, hey, any word that's a little bit tough, Dad likes it when you struggle with it a little bit, and I'll help you through it. But if any word that we struggle with, we're gonna go back and look at it later. So try to remember that word, right? Because I'm trying, and then I tell him the reason we focus on those is just like if I'm lifting weights and my bicep, if I do this again and again each day, gets stronger. Where I tell him the same thing happens to your brain. When you do the harder words, you do the harder things, your brain gets stronger. You get more muscles in your brain, and that's what we want to do in our family is we work out our minds, right? And so he gets that already at age 5. You can start sharing those messages. So then, after I'm done reading the book, I'll go back. Let's say makes was a word he struggled with. I'll go back and I'll cover a few words with him. So what are we doing? We're keeping the focus on the not yet. As a parent, you want to know what are the areas where my kid can grow, and you want to help them grow. Now, let's look what happens a lot of times when you help them grow. I have, this is actually my son's viola. My daughter plays violin as well. And I notice sometimes when they're playing music that if it's a hard song, a new song, sometimes it's frustrating, right? Maybe even get a tear in one's eye. I know when I play my guitar, it's really hard for me to learn a new song. And so when I notice that they're getting frustrated on music or in math, I'll tell my kids, I'll just go up to them and I'll say, hey, this is frustrating? Is this a little bit hard? And they'll say, yeah, it is. And I'll say to them, hey, you know what? In our family, we live for that moment of frustration. That's how we get better. That's how we get stronger. That's how your dad grew. That's how you're gonna grow, is we don't back away from that. So as a parent, educating your child that emotions like frustration are a normal part of the growth process. And in your family, you don't back away from that frustration. You step into it and you conquer it. Where does that message come from? Don't expect it to come from the kid. You've got to set that as the vision as the parent of what your family does. You're overcoming challenges. You're doing the harder problems. You're growing. So what happens is, if you adopt this kind of philosophy and you're sharing with your kids all the time, one, they're going to grow in confidence, as I shared with you earlier before, because they're mastering songs they couldn't do before. They're doing harder math. They're doing harder reading. They're doing all sorts of stuff. And at the same time, you're setting them up to make a huge difference in the world as they contribute their talents and skills.